Oh, RJ, you know, it's it's a it's a shame we couldn't have just stopped after 2 games against the Sharks.
I know, right? Things were going so well. I figured it was just automatic wins against the Sharks, and or even 2 games in one period. You could call it really.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, after the first, I mean, it just seemed like the talent gap. It was weird to see such a noticeable talent gap in the Kraken's favor.
Yes. Yes. But it was clearly evident that whole first period. That being said, I felt like the Kraken could have done more at times in that first period. Like they were clearly the dominant team, but I didn't I don't know, maybe it was just me, but I didn't feel like a big sense of urgency from them.
No, I didn't either. They it's weird because they were getting so many shots, they were getting so many chances. But you're right, that sense of urgency. I almost want to call it like this killer instinct around the
Hmm.
net when you're there, when you're in that area to actually go in, go for the kill. Really, I that's kind of what was missing. You still let Reimer mostly do his job, which is weird because then they did get to the net later on in the
Yeah.
game, and we'll talk about that. But early on in the game, when you're putting all that pressure, when you're getting those chances, there wasn't a whole lot of drive to the net. It just came later.
Yeah, I mean, it was really easy to be like, okay, Kraken are clearly dominating the game, and they were, and the shot, discrepancy was gigantic at one point. I think it was like 15-2 at some point or something crazy like that. But it didn't feel like they were super high quality chances. You know what I mean? That the
No.
Kraken were getting. Like they were all easy save stuff, and so it ultimately, you know, doesn't totally matter. That being said, how amazing is it to have a response goal like go in our favor?
That was so nice, and it caught me so off guard too. I wasn't even expecting it. Just still tweeting about the goal against, like, wait, we scored?
Hmm.
Yeah, that was awesome. And then to see that Morgan Geeky did it too. Like, he's been playing quietly really well these last few games
Hmm.
after being healthy scratch. And you could see the frustration too in past games that he hadn't been scoring despite getting good chances. Feels so good for him getting that one. Had to throw on the Geeky squad shirt
Yep.
here for post game. So yeah, good for him.
Yeah, no, it was really good for him. Happy for him. Long, long goal drought for him. So glad that one's over. Um, Go ahead and move over to chat. Tyler kicking us off with a "Here we go again." Ugh. We got it
Like
in.
clockwork.
Yep, first comment. There we go. Hunter one step closer to the first pick. Let the tank roll on. Yeah, I mean that. I guess these are the bright spots, if you will, of games like tonight. It's
Yep.
we dropped.
Arizona and Montreal are looking a little bit better.
They are.
Every game they're getting a little better.
They are. Things are looking good. It's because I said, nah, they're probably just locked into the third spot. Here we go. Stratic held the Sharks to 24 shots. The Kraken are back, baby.
Shot suppression. Let's go.
Yeah. And what's weird is like I felt like Grubauer played a pretty decent game in this one. Like he made a couple big time saves in this one. His rebound control was better than the last time we saw him. It just there was just too many either defensive miscues on the Kraken's part, or there was just I don't know. There were times you talked about Kraken not having killer instinct. There was just times where you just felt like a goal was inevitable from the Sharks team. Like they would just somehow muster up this energy for like one shift where they would just dominate the Kraken and then
Or
pay off
certainly
for them.
off of offensive zone faceoff, sometimes you'd see it where, like,
Hmm.
all right, guys, we're going full throttle on this one. I mean, you saw on their last goal just how many guys were at the net ready to go, in the right spots. Yeah, they really did kind of bring that drive to the net, and even that shift at the end of the second period where they drew a penalty. Like the Kraken, it's over. As far as they were concerned, the period was over,
Yeah.
and the Sharks just played to the very last second, and I think it was Gord that took the penalty at the 20-minute mark exactly.
Yes.
So the Sharks just kind of played longer and played harder.
Yeah, they did a good job of kind of knowing that they were probably going into a game like this where we don't really have the upper hand per se. So we gotta play smart, take advantage of the opportunities that were given, and they did, and so good for them. Um, Michael, even for a Seattle team, this is bad. It's really not great. I get it. It is rough sometimes. That being said, I do feel like at this point I'm getting pretty numb to it.
Yeah, I will say that. When you're on a 7-game losing streak for is this the third time of the season?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, you like, okay, well, I've been here before. I know how to handle this.
Yeah, I know. And it wasn't especially heartbreaking compared to some of the other ones we've had either.
No.
Unfortunately, it just hurts because this was the one division foe we had them.
Yep.
We
It's
had
down to the Sabres and Panthers now that I think we're 2-0 against.
Yep, and at least get to hang our hats on those for a little while.
Yep.
That's the good. That's the good news there. This is from Barbara. Good morning from the Netherlands. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for joining from the Netherlands. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then Michael, Hacksaw can't even challenge the right thing. Canadians about to pass us in the standing. Hack's got to go. All right, so desperation challenge, like your tweet said.
Totally.
I think that's all it was.
100%. Totally desperation challenge. I mean, the entire reason that's done is just because if that goal counts, it's pretty much game over. It's very hard to come down back from 2-0 that late in that kind of game. So you've got to just shoot your shot. That's all that was.
Yeah, and at what point do we get challenges going our way? That being said, as we've already talked about in this one, maybe it's okay that we're not getting the challenges right now because we are losing, we are kind of tanking, right? Season is lost. Let's just bank a bunch of good, challenge goalie interference karma for next year when maybe it's gonna, mean a little more for us.
Yeah, you know what? I have been thinking about that actually. Like, if there's ever a time for all the challenges to go against the Kraken, it's now. Yeah, so I mean, maybe that's another way to think about it too.
Yeah. Did you have issue with either, review and the ultimate decision?
No, I mean, the first one was obviously a lot closer. I thought it was a 50-50 kind of review. After seeing the overhead where Johansson's skate makes contact with Reimer's skate in the crease, that's the contact in the crease they're talking about. You can argue about how much that impeded Reimer's ability to do his job, but I think, to some extent it did. So I wasn't going to be upset with the call either way on that one. I think 50-50 call, as I think John Forsland said. 50-50 call. And the second one, there was absolutely nothing there. Nothing whatsoever. Right? There was Gadjevich, I don't think, made any contact with Grubauer at all, which was kind of unusual to see when they're in that close quarters. Didn't even touch him, and then absolutely not a distinct kicking motion for sure. Yeah. The bar is really high on those for what it needs to be a kick. And he was clearly just putting his foot back down to gain balance. Like, he had all his weight on one foot, was just planting his other foot. Absolutely nothing there.
Yeah, I agree. At first I really thought they had, they were gonna win the Johansson one. But yes, that one where it's clear he makes that move, he enters the blue paint ever so briefly and initiates contact. And once that happens, everything else after that, regardless of whether or not, it impacted the shot that ultimately led to a goal or multiple shots before, like, it's just all over from that point on.
Yeah. But I do want to add also, though, that I tweeted this, but it was really a mental challenge there for the Kraken after that goal was disallowed, where, as a team, and that stuff's going to happen to you. Like, you're going to get a goal taken off the board. It happens to every single team at some point in the season, at some point, usually more important points too. And what you have to do is just completely get it out of your mind. Forget that it ever happened, because you've been playing so well. That's what's so important, is that you are playing pretty much perfectly in every regard up to that point. And you've just got to forget about it and play the exact same way the rest of the game. Because if you do that, you're going to win.
Yeah.
Stuff's going to start going your way. You're going to get more chances. But I don't know about you, Dylan, but to me, it looked like the Kraken, they looked like a different team after that.
They did. You were not seeing that kind of hustle and drive after that we were seeing there, the going to the front of the net and stuff. Like, I mean, there was late in the third when you were desperate, but again, that doesn't really count in my book for that. They did look like a very different team. It looked like it broke them defensively. Like, I get it if you're now, like, too worried to enter the crease or whatever, get close to the goalie, but it completely broke them defensively. From then on out, you could see momentum really start, the Sharks being able to build up a lot of momentum from then on out.
Yeah, that's what didn't make sense to me too, is because they kept going to the crease, they kept going to the net. That was fine. All of a sudden, the defensive miscues were back in their own zone. The turnovers, the mismarking your man. That it's just confusing.
Yes, we'll say bright spot. I saw 2 completed passes using the boards. You know, a little off the board action. I saw 2 completed passes for the Kraken tonight doing that. Huge. Huge,
Yes,
huge, huge.
for sure.
I don't know that I've seen 2 of those passes in all of, this year leading into this game combined. So that's something fun to look forward to. Hopefully they can figure that out moving forward. Lindsay, first loss to the Sharks in Kraken history. Feels bad, man.
Yep.
That's all there is to it. No longer, absolute rulers of the deep. There is competition.
Yep. Yeah, we still got some Sharks down there.
Yeah. Again, Sharks plural, Kraken, is Kraken plural for Kraken? Is
it one is, of those but okay. There's just one.
Yeah. Hello, fellow patients of Emerald City Therapy. It's been a minute. That's from Alex. Yes, it has, Alex. Good to see your name back in here. Lindsay, I really thought we'd win this one. We broke the pattern. Not a fan of it. Again, not a fan of it, but it was, it was bound to happen, unfortunately, I think. And then Daniel, I don't know what hurts more, the Kraken losing for the 7th time in a row or the Sounders losing 1-0 in the home opening. I mean, that one hurts. We've gotten used to these Kraken losses. Sounders,
yeah, I think the Sounders loss probably hurts them a little bit more.
Yeah, just a little. And then Lindsay, I did totally call that Geeky would score tonight before the game. I just felt like he was due for a goal, and lo and behold, he was the only one. So good on you, Lindsay.
Yeah, you were right on it, Lindsay. And like that's a good eye too, because there were a lot of indicators too as far as how he was playing. So good instincts there.
Yeah, and outside of Geeky, let's try to think of some 3 stars for the Kraken here.
Yeah, let's do that.
Blackwell for me has to be in that conversation, just because he was everywhere. He was always on the puck. It seemed like definitely heard his name from Forsland more than anybody's tonight. I feel like. So Geeky.
Yeah, no, that's a good pick.
Geeky, Blackwell. Who else you think?
I don't know. What'd you think of Jordan Eberle's game? Because I noticed like things were a little bit better defensively, and he was one of the guys who was generating things offensively. He didn't get anything to go for him, but there were a few chances also where he was kind of in front of the net in the right spots, but the puck didn't make its way to him.
I liked his movement in the offensive zone and his willingness to be a little bit more patient and skate with the puck, maybe look for a better shot rather than just shooting it the moment it touched his stick. I thought that was something, that we haven't seen from him in a long time. Because think back, if you can, way back to the beginning of this season, right? When he was scoring all those goals, I think when he had the hat trick and everything, right? How he scored so many of those goals moving left to right, right? And taking shots as the goalie's moving, he's opening up the goalie, he's getting looks at, more of the net that way. And so he started, moving around more tonight. And so I'm happy to see that. I hope he continues that. And I think if he does, gonna see some, more goals from him, hopefully. Moving forward, Michael, can't wait for Beniers to join this team.
Yep.
I can't either. It's gonna be quite the show when he gets there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Looking forward to it.
All right. And then from Barbara, only saw the 3rd period. Is it me or did they get loads of penalties? It was an especially penalty heavy game from the Kraken. I felt like this one.
Yeah, and it was, again, very backloaded too. And at first, it was a while, I think, before we really got a whole bunch of penalties. But in the 3rd, they were just taking penalty after penalty. Or I guess it started at the end of the 2nd. Yeah. But yeah, they just kind of came apart discipline-wise. And when you're trailing a game like that, you can't afford to spend that much time on the PK. Even if the Sharks don't beat you, that's still 2 minutes that you're probably not going to score. So that's definitely an area for improvement.
That being said, there were times late in this game where I felt like the PK was doing a better job on generating offense than the 5-on-5 offense.
Oh, for sure. I'll give you that. And that's something that Hackstall's talked a lot too. They really made an adjustment there as being more aggressive on the PK. If you're interested in the details on it too, like go to the Kraken's YouTube channel and just look at this morning's media availability. Hackstall really goes into detail of kind of everything that they are doing differently, all the changes they made. Even as he's like walking away from the podium, you can still hear him on the mic kind of detailing things that they've changed. So you could tell he's proud of that. So go give that a listen if you're interested in the real X's and O's side of it.
Yeah, well, it's paying dividends because they look really, really good tonight. Lindsay, Money Puck had the Kraken at a 75% on the deserve to win-o-meter after the 2nd. I believe that.
I looked it up. They did. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
First game in a while they've actually been on the right side of the deserve to win-o-meter.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was, one of the things early on in the season. Generally, it was very much in their favor, but then they found a way to lose. These days, it's just more so them not finding ways to win. So
Yep.
in that sense, they're playing a little more to expectation given their record. Not a good thing per se. Hunter, moral victories. Yeah, assume that's a reference to shot suppression being back, the 75% on the win meter. Yeah. All right, so let's see. Schultz, with the number of playoff teams having goalie uncertainty, does Drieger have currency prior to trade deadline? Giving the core more experience might not be a bad thing. We have touched on this before. I think if you can, get a decent return for Drieger, go ahead and do it. Make the move. I don't know how many teams are really going to be that interested in him.
I do think, given what the goalie market is, I do think that there's value out there. I mean, it depends on, him specifically, how interested they are. But from what I'm hearing, it certainly sounds like there's some real value on the goalie market if teams are willing to move goalies, because there's more demand than there is supply. And I think a lot of teams, if you're in it at all, want to hang on to your goalies because you don't want to be left kind of without two down the stretch.
Yeah, it's kind of like that every year to some extent. There's some of that.
Especially if you could move one to Edmonton and
right.
take some salary back to make it work.
Yeah, that is true. I just, I would think before anybody trades for the guy, they'd maybe want to see him start, more than once every other week. It seems like.
Yep.
might be something that you could use to help increase his trade value. I don't know. Maybe give it a shot. Mm-hmm. Autumn, this team is actually a joke. The organization should be embarrassed that this product is what was delivered. The Sharks were essentially an AHL team tonight with injuries, had a goalie playing a back-to-back. Saw that on Twitter. Only bummer was Callie's goal getting taken away. Would have been good trade value momentum. All right, so a lot to unpack there, yes. RJ. I mean, I get it. The Sharks were definitely kind of outmatched and outgunned going into tonight. We saw that early on. Like we said, Kraken didn't exactly look like they were pushing as hard as they could, but they were clearly dominating things.
Yeah, there was a big skill gap. I can confirm the Sharks, they had only one NHL caliber defenseman on the roster, like in the lineup, and that was Brent Burns. Everyone else was AHL caliber. It's just a mess, their depth. They are a bad hockey team right now. And so you could see that skill gap early on too. I mean, the Kraken were just clearly more skilled than the Sharks were, but I think the Sharks outworked them late.
They did.
And given that they were on the second half of a back-to-back, you'd think that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, but you know what? I almost feel like sometimes as you get to the end of those back-to-back games, and we've seen this from the Kraken and from the Kraken's opponents this year, it's almost like you just get into this like delirium state of mind where you're just like, I've played so much hockey, I am so tired, I want this over, but I've found something. You know what I mean? They've hit that runner's high of endorphins or whatever.
Yeah, you ever pull an all-nighter setting and then just get like super productive at like 6 a.m.
Exactly. There's something to that, I think. I really do, given all the teams we've seen so far this year. So maybe that had something to do with it. But yes, if Boy Callie gets a goal there, keeps him, really looking hot going into the trade deadline, I think that would have helped him out, especially given, his role tonight too.
Yeah,
that would have been
for
big.
Sure.
Cameron, sup guys, back from Canada. Good to be back, but not good to see our losing streak. No, sorry, it couldn't have improved while you're gone.
Yep.
Just it is what it is. You've been around long enough now. Lindsay, so Montreal has won 5 in a row. We've lost 7 in a row. At this rate, they'll overtake us in the standings on Wednesday, March 9th. I mean, I don't know whether or not to be happy about that, RJ, because Montreal has been just in the basement all season long. It felt like, it was one of those, well, no matter how bad we are, we're not as bad as Montreal. But that might be changing soon.
Yeah, it certainly seems like they've turned it around, at least for the time being. And, having a new head coach, you kind of always get that spark, it seems like. But yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if they pass the Kraken. But at this point, I just want Montreal and Arizona win as many games as you can, because then it just creates leeway for the Kraken to still win more and still get a higher draft pick.
Yeah, just in case they win some games here. The Kraken. I mean, the other thing with them is, they had ridiculous amount of injuries too. Like that was definitely feeding into absolutely like how bad they were. So that's also, I think, helping it. Autumn, how many unacceptable losing streaks have we had this season? At least 3.
3. I count 3.
Yeah, I think there was like a 4-game one in there too, but that, it
Yeah, but
happens.
yeah, that happens. I'll go with 3.
That can be, one of those games you're just like unlucky or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
call goes, against you. But yes, 3, which is, arguably 2 more than you should ever reasonably have in a season. Corey, they never seem to win the face-off when they really need it. Yeah, face-off has been one of those things that has really gone back and forth for this team. I never know if they're going to be a good face-off team or not, RJ. And certainly when it comes down to, key moments, they seem to fold more often than not.
Yeah, I mean, face-off percentage, by its nature, it's kind of volatile, but it seems like the Kraken have really bounced back and forth on it. And I mean, looking tonight, it was 45 to 55% basically. But it seemed like a lot of the key ones, especially the defensive zone face-offs, it allowed the Sharks to run some good set plays from those, which maybe a hint that the Kraken should implement some set plays in the offensive zone for them.
That is an interesting thing because like every NHL team I think has those, but us maybe.
It feels like it, doesn't it?
I don't really recall ever seeing any. I mean, even you'll see some teams, right? Guy gets kicked off the face-off dot, and then there's like a huge shuffling of where everybody's at. Kraken, it's like the guy goes and it's just like, okay, this guy's gonna take it now.
Yep.
There's not a lot of plan there, and I feel like there maybe should be. Certainly, for the power plays. Like, let's try to come up with some plays off those. Obviously, you're struggling on the power play a lot. Maybe there's some room to, that's one time we're going to have a big grouping of guys. Maybe, do some fun stuff with guys moving around. Really try to confuse the defense. Get somebody to have a lot of time and space. I feel like you could really use Jared McCann there. You know what I mean? There's a lot of potential there to use someone like him with a shot like his. Yeah. Obviously, it can't happen right now, but, when he gets back.
That's soon.
I enjoy Gio, but don't think we're going to miss his leadership much. Maybe it'll give some space for a younger player to take the reins. Man, Autumn on a tear tonight.
Oh, yeah. No, Autumn's feeling it.
I mean, I get it. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I don't know how things are going to shake out defensively for this team when he's gone. And certainly from a leadership standpoint, we've talked several times now. I don't know how much leadership is there from anybody.
Yeah, agreed. I don't think it's going to look very different from that standpoint.
Yeah, I hate saying that, but it's just what we've seen. Hunter, unpopular opinion, Grubauer isn't as good as most of the fan base thinks he is. Certainly not this year. I mean, he's had some good games. He has good stretches, even like tonight. Like I said, he made some big-time saves tonight. But then there are just other times where it's bad, and certainly the defense doesn't help him out at all.
Yeah, so but if you look at his career before this season, I mean, it's just a completely different guy. So as far as the fans kind of thinking he's a certain level of good or not, it's basically whether you think he's the goalie that from before this season or just the goalie this season, because they're pretty much like two different people.
Yeah, and so it is as with so much of this team, gonna have to wait and see next year. It's just unfortunate because that's a long ways away still. Michael, watched the Winnipeg Ice game today, and all I can say is that Savoy looks real good. Fast, good skater, finisher. No idea why he's dropping down scouts' draft boards. Everybody this year is all over the place with the scouting draft boards. Guys have been rising, guys have been falling. It's a mess. I think part of it is what I was saying the other night. For a lot of these guys, because of the way scouting has turned into its own little industry, been watching these guys for a very, very long time now, and the longer you watch somebody, the more you tend to just focus on picking apart what he needs to work on, and you kind of lose that excitement of the first couple times you watch him. I have a feeling that's what's been kind of happening this year. A lot of the guys who have been rising have just been the late bloomers, and I think it's just because there's more excitement about them, and so they're injecting them into their rankings and stuff, because people have already seen Savoy as, the second ranked guy from 3 rankings ago, when Greg Button or whoever, Bob McKenzie, whenever they put out their rankings, right? You can't just have it be the same ranking each time. Nobody's going to pay attention to it. Nobody's going to click on it. So as a media member, you got to kind of find ways to shuffle it around. And I think part of that is that. That being said, going to be looking at Savoy real soon. I'm actually going to pull up the poll right now because I was going to talk about this. I'm gonna end the poll tomorrow so that I can get started working on that new scouting video this week.
Yeah, patrons, go ahead and vote if you haven't already.
Yeah, and then we have other Patreon news if you want to quickly announce that, RJ.
Yes, we have decided our 2 games for the ECH live commentary for the month of March. So I'm excited about that. The 2 games are going to be, and I've got my phone here just to make sure this is correct. We're going to do March 8th at Toronto. That'll be a 4:30 p.m. Pacific start time game. And then we're going to do March 22nd at Arizona. That'll be a 7 o'clock start time game. So, two couple interesting opponents. Toronto, obviously a very good team. We saw the skill on display last time they played the Kraken. And we'll have the earlier start time. And then Arizona, a team, the Tank Bowl, a team that the Kraken should have a good chance to beat, though. And that'll be a 7 o'clock start time. So, good for those who might be able to get to it a little bit later. So those are going to be the 2 games. We'll put a post out on the Patreon, obviously, that's going to have that information there, what the 2 games are. But yeah, that'll be the 2 ECH live commentary games for March.
Yes. And I forgot I took my laptop off Wi-Fi to help out with this stream, so I can't look at what the poll results are currently. But they were pretty close last I saw between Savoy and Cooley, so gonna be good. Autumn, even when Grubauer plays okay, he's almost always outplayed by the opposing goalie. Agreed. That has been the story this year. Again, wait and see how things look next year.
Yeah. Actually, Logan Cooley is up 6-5 in the poll over Savoy.
All right, so we'll see. See again, it's late bloomer, rising star factor. Everybody's feeling it. Absurdly saying, yeah, I don't see how this loss can be pinned on Groovy. So lots of conflicting opinions here. I don't either. I feel like there was plenty of blame to go around for the Kraken tonight.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, when you score 1 goal has got to be perfect for you to win.
Exactly. Lindsay, what do you think we'll get in return for trading Gio? Is a first too much to hope for? 2 seconds? Would you both prefer players or picks in return? The only way I'm taking back a player is if it's a good prospect, because that's all you're looking to do. We're going to be talking about the idea of rebuilds and building for the future tomorrow on the deep dive. That is what the deep dive is going to be about. So look forward to that, everybody. Is a first too much to hope for? I don't think so, but just based on past trade deadline days when bidding gets crazy late in the as the deadline gets right there. But I don't know. It's going to be close this year.
Yeah, I think a first, it's a steep price, but we've seen teams pay it in the past
for much less.
For much less, yes. And I think given Gio's reputation and his recent run of good play as well, I think you might see a team that would be willing to step up and do that.
The only thing's going to be how many other defensemen are going to be on the market, because that could be the thing.
I think, and the name to look for is Ben Sherratt in Montreal. So see what if he goes first, see what he gets, and that's kind of gonna establish kind of what the market is. Yeah,
and as far as if they don't get a first, maybe they'll get a second and a prospect or something.
That would be my guess. Yeah, it'd be a second and a prospect.
Kitty Kraken. Sharks had 5 rookies on the ice for one of their goals. Kraken should be able to do better. And no arguments from me.
Yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of the roster was at this point.
I was going to say, and it's not like these rookies are, Connor McDavid as an 18-year-old, Sid the Kid, right? No. There's a bunch of guys I'd never heard of. Couldn't name now.
Yeah, project as middle or bottom 6 guys.
Yep. Autumn, we will retain salary when will we retain salary when we trade Gio? Might as well, since we have 6.8 million cap space this year. Clown emoji. Yeah, probably.
I think so. It would make sense, certainly. I mean, you can retain up to half. That's going to matter for a contending team, and it doesn't cost you anything aside from the owner's money and the owner's not worried about that. So yeah, for sure. I think we should see that.
Yeah, and certainly if that's going to be the difference in getting a first back for him, you absolutely do that.
Yeah,
it's worth it.
Yep.
Striatic, it's a rivalry now that both teams have won, followed by Hockey Mom. Sharks can now officially be our rivals since we lost. So I guess
it got a little chippier too.
It did
in that game.
It did. It didn't quite have that same sense of I don't know, fire and back and forth as that last Ducks game. But
no, it didn't. But
You
A little
know,
chippier than the first two.
and we did see a
Building.
fight.
You're building.
Yeah, and we did
Yeah.
see a fight tonight, so that was
Mhm.
cool. Does that like really close to disaster with the penalty boxes opening like that?
Yeah. Jeez.
I
Lucky no one was too badly hurt there. That could have been a lot worse.
I was shocked to see that. I don't know what was happening there.
Yeah.
Elias, all of the franchise firsts, are the Kraken missing any major ones besides a win streak longer than 2 games? Yeah, we've
Let's
basically hit all the franchise firsts, right?
Except first game against Ottawa.
Yeah, Ottawa's the one missing. I was gonna say first games in certain like historical buildings and places, maybe, but I feel like we've had a hat trick, we've had a shutout.
Power play, obviously shorthanded goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have we scored an empty net goal?
I know it doesn't, but yes, we have. But even though it doesn't feel like it.
So yeah, I think we've gotten most of them. We've had defenseman score. We've had a defenseman score 2 shorthanded goals in a week. So that's
But penalty shot goal, I think, is the one that's missing. Maybe.
Yeah. I don't think we've seen one of those. Those are very hard to get these days, though.
Yes.
Autumn Kraken finished up February with 2 wins, 9 losses. That is very sobering to read. Wish we could get a Hackstall and Francis approval rating poll from casual fans. Probably not going to be very high. Might be a reason why we haven't seen one.
Yep. Yeah, from the just kind of the rumblings I've heard, from more casual fans, or just we're all explaining what I do, like, oh yeah, I've heard about the Kraken or whatever, and usually it's like, yeah, their coach is pretty bad, huh? It's that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Hunter, it's a no from me on that top one. Reading ID, hey all, greetings from the parking lot in San Jose, about to drive home from the game in quiet desolation. At least the Sharks fans were denied free tacos.
Oh yeah,
we couldn't even get the dozens of Sharks fans free tacos.
Exactly. Yeah, it seemed pretty empty in the building there.
Lots there. It's okay. Denied Ducks fans Chick-fil-A when I was at that game too, so we're really good at playing spoilers when it comes to
That's
the free
how you build
food.
rivalries.
That is definitely how you build a rivalry, let me tell you. Lindsay's got a very important question for you, RJ. When you're covering home games, do you eat before you go, or like pack a dinner or something? I imagine eating arena food every time would get expensive very quickly.
Okay, so good question, Lindsay. I try and eat a little something before I go so I don't get too hungry, but how it works is they actually do provide food for those of us up in the press bridge. Great, the team does that, and it's usually pretty good food too. That comes out either in the first or second intermission. It varies, but you always got to check in the first intermission to make sure you don't miss it, and then there's none left. But yeah, I'll eat a little something before the game, and then, sometime between the first and second intermission, I'll go grab a bite to eat of the food that's provided there for us, and so that's what I do.
Yes, the infamous hot dogs when Phil Kessel's in the building.
I love that. That was great.
That was by far and away the best. Brian, disappointing. Kraken had one job today, win so the Kings can have more separation from the pack. So Brian clearly shifting more towards the team on the left side of his little avatar there, more so than the right now, and who can blame him?
Don't worry, the Sharks are not a threat at all.
Probably not. Valentina, I was proud of us in the first period. Our offense was on point, and the shot suppression was back. Yes, so I do hope that we can continue with the shot suppression moving forward. That being said, Grubauer, maybe it helps Grubauer. I still can't figure that one out.
Yeah, well, on that first goal, I thought he should have had that one. I would chalk that up as a soft goal. Given where it went 5-hole, you've got to have your stick down there.
Yep.
And I think a big part of that was the fact that he hadn't really seen many shots so far in the period. It looked like one of those early season ones.
Yep.
Where the Kraken come out of the gate hot. And then, allows a soft goal. So
I guess bottom line is, if we're going to lose no matter what, do we want to have one on paper when it comes to the money puck winometer? Because that's basically
the trade-off, guys.
That's it. It seems inevitable. We're losing no matter what. So these are the questions we really have to ask ourselves. Tom, what's been the high point of the season? I think it's been all downhill since the geeky game-tying goal in Game 1 versus Vegas.
No, because hey, they won the next game after that.
Yeah.
For me, I'd say the high point of the season was either the first, or it was either that second well, I don't know. The second Florida game, they'd already experienced some pretty bad losing. I'd say it was the end of that Edmonton game where they hung on and won 4-3.
Okay, that's a good
That was
one.
kind of the most excited that I remember everyone being about the team and their prospects because it was early enough that they weren't out of it, and it seemed like they had finally turned a corner.
Yeah, I was gonna say that kind of like that second big road trip they had where they went. I think it was the second one where they went and coming off of beating Carolina, had a good game against the Caps. I don't remember if they won that one. I think they did. And
Yeah,
then
they did.
and then going, yeah, you lose in Tampa, but it was a close, good game. And then you beat Florida at home, break them going for the all-time win streak to start a season at home. You keep them from getting that. You play spoiler. You go. You win the next game in Buffalo. Like I felt like that road trip. It was like, okay, finally the team's coming together. We're seeing what the potential can be, and it was just like I just remember riding high for like a good week and a half there.
Yeah, no, that would be the other one. I think that's a good one. Stratic saying high point of the season where the Davy Jones wins, but unfortunately an adorable doggo can only do so much.
That is true. It's just like adding a new coach. It helps in the short term, but long term, you still got to address some of the key issues.
Yep.
Let's see. Valentina Sharks feed started the first intermission with, as the artist Lil Jon says, shots, 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 shots. Yeah.
Everybody.
There you go. There you go.
All right.
Reading ID.
The Sharks broadcast is great, I will say. Sharks broadcast is awesome.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was just like on the Espen feed, but the Root one had lots of issues tonight with audio cutting in and out and video even cutting in and out at times.
Yes.
That was, I don't know what was going on there. Reading ID also confirmed that Ty Jacobs is a fun person to attend a hockey game with. He said I could blame him for us falling off the Sharks food chain, though, as he is yet to see a Kraken win. Oof.
Oh man, but love to see members of the ECH community get together watching hockey games together. That's awesome.
Yes. Hunter, what's the percentage that Hackstall is let go before the start of next year? I mean, it climbs every day, it feels like.
It does.
I mean, like the chance of him not coming back climbs every day.
Yeah.
Right now, it's got to be less than 50% him coming back, right? Like it feels like.
I'd give it 45.
Okay. All right. So there you go. I mean, I kind of agree.
They could change a lot over the rest of the season.
I mean,
so.
I was gonna say, and I get it that they haven't talked about it because, like, why would you? That would be like a really terrible thing to do as like an employer. But at the same time, it does make you go like, I mean, they are seeing this, right?
Yeah.
Lindsay, are you saying that RJ has access to the chicken parm from the infamous chicken parm game?
Okay. Actually, I remember that game, and I remember there being a whole like food cart up there, and Molly Demers, who's the head chef for Climate Pledge Arena, I saw her walking by. I'm like, what's she doing up here? I'd never seen her before. And I saw they were heading into one of the broadcast rooms or whatever. I didn't know what was going on, but I just thought, that's odd. And then later that night after the game's over, I saw what had happened. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, that's, I guess, what I saw.
Yes, you saw the rest of the fan base just freaking out. Like, I never want to hear the words chicken parm again. Night, Reading ID. Hope you have a good one. Glad you, had a decent time at the game, given the result. Let's see. Brian, the Tank Commander will probably not be let go until the end of the season. Need a high draft pick next year. Yeah, there's no way it happens before the end of the year. Stratic, at least this was the way the Kraken are supposed to lose hockey games. Good defense, decent goaltending, anemic offense, just as the hockey gods and Ron Francis intended. That is right. It only took us 55 games to get there.
Yeah. Mission accomplished.
Yep. Brian, Grubauer was good tonight. Probably wants one of those back, but even still, one goal is simply not enough. It was frustrating to watch. Great offensive zone possession, leading to a smattering of grade C chances. Yes, I think early on in the game, I think first 10 minutes or so, you had a chance where they came in 3-on-2-ish, and they had good passing. Gord had a ton of time and space, and he tried to hit, I think it was Blackwell, like going to the net, but he had a defender draped all over him. I'm like, Gord, just walk in and take that shot. You have no one in front of you.
Yeah, I do remember that one.
Just beat the goalie. Go for it. And then they possessed it for like close to a whole minute after that and never got another shot.
Exactly. And that's something that Haxtell's been talking about over the last couple games, just needing to simplify when you have odd numbered rushes. But the message lasted, I guess, one game, it seems like.
Hey, but again, in transition, two passes using the boards. get around defenders. That's the focus. We did
Yes.
that twice,
Hang
guys.
your head on that.
Yes. Tankmaster Ty checking in. First win in regulation I've seen in the SAP. Lol. Yikes. Yeah. You're a real good luck charm everywhere you go these days, Ty. Just messing with you, but yeah, it's been brutal for you. Brian, what was up with the Sharks' attendance? It felt like I was watching a Coyote game. I mean, that's what happens basically anywhere if the team's just not winning.
Yep. I mean, the future looks bleak for the next, we'll say 5 years. Fans know it.
Yep. Ty, this was by far the most I've heard their crowd be involved. Not impressed by the effort, but I did have good company. Wenny, how many times do I have to complain about you, lol? So before we get to the next one, it's got to just be because of the injuries at this point, right? Like they just can't take him out right now, but
yeah, clearly. I mean, like, because you're putting Cole Lind in there, cold to play center. You don't want to do that.
No. At least that's what I'm hoping that it is. I don't know that that's for sure, but let's just say it's that for right now. Reimer isn't even good. I've watched him get eaten alive for 5 games. Time to dump homies in the trade deadline and see what starts to build for next year. Any comments there, RJ?
Reimer's capable of having some good games. I've seen it. I mean, he's also capable of having some really bad games, but yeah, you should be able to beat him given the number of chances that you've had.
And the defense in front of him and the offense in front of him and all of that, yeah. Hunter, rebuilding already. Nothing screams Seattle sports like rebuilding in year 1. Yeah, I know. We're trying to figure out how to like phrase it. Like they're building for the future. That it's not really a rebuild because you can't rebuild from nothing. But in some ways, it very much just feels like a rebuild.
It does, and we'll get into this on the podcast tomorrow. But yeah, it's unique, that's for sure.
Yep. Valentina, I agree that Gru has been good the last 2 games. The first goal of this game, he probably wants the first one back. But the second one was through heavy traffic. It had to be impossible to see. I'd agree with that assessment, as we already kind of did. Lindsay, will we put together a 3-game or longer win streak this season? It's looking less and less likely. I don't know. What if you had to give odds on that, RJ?
Yeah,
a 3-game win streak. I might give that 6-1.
Yeah, of it happening. Yeah,
yeah, that's what I would do.
I'd go 3-1. I'm no, because Tampa's in the middle of that. I'm looking at the schedule, trying to find where these wins are going to come from.
Remember, we can't beat Arizona to save our lives. So.
Hey, there's a stretch of Winnipeg, Devils, Ottawa.
That could happen.
Yep.
So but that's also one stretch left in the end of the year. So I'm going to stick with my 6-1.
Fair enough.
Tyler, I've heard Panthers and Leafs going after Gio, maybe a package like Owen Tippett and a second from Florida or Nick Robertson and second from Toronto. However, I don't think Francis is capable of a good trade. Hey, now, I think he's capable of it. The only question is whether or not we'll see it.
Right. I mean, we've seen from his time in Carolina, he actually is capable. It was actually recently the anniversary of the Andre Sekera trade, which was a very good selling off trade from Ron Francis. So we know he can do it. As for whether he can do it in Seattle, we'll see. It seems like his official story is something like, as soon as I got to Seattle, none of the other GMs would ever talk to me, and I was shunned and banished forever. So we'll see.
Yeah.
As for the value, those prospects, I think that might be about right. I don't know. Maybe if you're going, I don't know much about Nick Robertson. What do you think? I'd say a little less. If it's a prospect like that, maybe a 3rd or 4th is the pick.
I was going to say, he's the one I don't know too well. And really with Tippett, I remember him from his draft year and I remember really liking him, but it also doesn't seem like he's flourished since then. Like he's been around for a little while now. So, I don't know. I'd still probably be okay with that. I just think a first is cleaner. It's just
certainly.
That's just the way I think of it. All right, here's a good question from Brian. Do we have anyone with a Gordie Howe hat trick yet?
Oh, you know what?
I don't know.
Off the top of my head, I don't think so.
I don't either. First guy that popped into my head as like the potential to do it, Yanni.
Oh yeah, no, Yanni would be probably the odds-on favorite there. maybe Vince Dunn, depending
I
on the
was gonna
team.
say the only other guys we've seen fight have been Alexiak and Lauzon. I don't know.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's a good one. That could still be the milestone we're waiting on. Sergeant Pickles, hello again, dear friends. Getting my mandatory mental wellness check out of the way. Overall, just bummed. Month to go, and very little positives from me. Well, thank you for checking in, Sergeant Pickles. We always appreciate it. But yeah, it's kind of been the tone and tenor of tonight, fortunately.
yeah, pretty much. You're on board with most everyone here.
Yeah. Ty with not thinking so. Brian, Hunter. It's been
Oh,
all
the
down.
Cordy Howe, yeah.
Yeah. Hunter. It's been all downhill since Tanev got injured. I'd agree with that. That really
Yeah,
derailed things.
huge blow. Yep.
100. That's the percentage he goes. Lol, you guys are too nice. This is the fullest I've seen the SAP Center as well. Wow, that's really bad.
Yeah, that no. Must have only been going recently though, because they used to pack that just about every game.
Yeah,
I remember back when.
back in my day. All right, Autumn, what's the difference in value of a 2022 pick versus a 2023 pick? Well, for most GMs, earlier the better because you might not have a job past this year. That's generally how they tend to view things. As far as actual like draft classes go, they're both pretty decent draft classes, so I don't know that one is necessarily better than the other.
They are. From what I've heard from some people, 2023 might be deeper from what they've said, and that, it sounds like some scouts kind of would want to target 2023, but it's draft picks are currency. And just like any money, there's a time value to money. Anything sooner is going to have extra value. So I still think 2022 picks are going to be a little bit more valuable.
Yeah. I mean, we see it even in some like really bad draft classes. They're like all of a sudden valuing draft picks, and you're just like, why? Well, it's like, well, because they're on the chopping block. So, Lindsay, any word on when McCann will be back? I miss him. I miss him too, RJ.
I do too. Yeah, I miss Jared McCann. No word on when he'll be back exactly. I mean, the IR means he's got to be on there at least a week. I forget what day exactly that would mean he's eligible to come off, but it sounded from Dave Haxtell's tone like he didn't expect him to be out much longer than the minimum week.
Yeah, was it Thursday? Is that right?
I think it was right before. It was like morning skate before one of the games. So,
any other injury while we're talking about it?
Yep.
Schwartz touch ice again.
Yeah, nothing new on Schwartz. And we keep asking. I think it was at last practice. So that would be yesterday that we asked any updates on the guys on IR. No updates given. Schwartz, he's been out there on the ice before, morning skates and practice. He's skating a little bit, but he's not really stick handling, doing some very, very light work on the hand. So I'm not counting on it being anytime soon. And there's no reason to rush him back, given what the situation is.
Very true. Okay, this is another good one. Autumn, I'm delayed, but we're still waiting on the Kraken's first goalie goal. That's true.
One day. I don't think Drieger's going to be trying it again.
That's a good question. I mean, not every franchise has one of those, right? There's no way. Yeah, there's no way.
No, there's only 9 goalies who have done it. So yeah,
at
it's
most,
very
9
rare.
franchises. Yeah. Let's see. Montreal's 5-game win streak. I'm sure we can get 3. I don't know.
It required a coaching change.
Yeah. We can't beat Tampa. Don't be so pessimistic. We've beat Florida twice. Yeah, we can. I mean, we can. We've played them tough.
Yep.
And then any 3-game win streak will probably be late in the season if Schwartz and McCann come back. I agree with that for sure from Strayatic there.
Yeah, agreed.
And then Lindsay, on a positive note, I'm very much looking forward to my first skating class tomorrow night at KCI. Excited to not look like a baby giraffe on stilts when I'm on the ice, plus hitting up the 32 bar and grill after. Awesome job, Lindsay. Let's go.
Yes, good for you, Lindsay. All right, that's going to be great. Let us know how it went, the next post game afterward, because I'm excited to hear. It's great.
Yeah.
Learning to skate. And yeah, got to go to 32 Bar and Grill to celebrate.
For sure, for sure. Oh, I remember all my skating classes back in the day. So much fun.
Yeah.
Stratic. Okay, so my friend Brittany did a spreadsheet of which Kraken follow which Kraken on Instagram because she's weird. Guess which Kraken follows the most teammates and which Kraken is followed the most. Okay. Who would be followed the most? I feel like we should start there.
Yeah.
Could be a
Okay. Who's
goalie.
followed the
Could
most?
be a goalie. I feel like maybe Grubauer. I don't know.
Grubauer is a good pick. Yeah. I'm trying to think because I do with the ECH account. I do follow all the players, but I don't really keep that close, a track of it.
You're saying you gave up a chance to have a spreadsheet like this?
I know, right? Yeah, rare that I would give up a chance to have a spreadsheet, but no, I am definitely weird, but not that specific kind of weird, I guess.
Yeah. And then as far as like being a good teammate that follows everybody, it's got to be Will Borgen because he just had so much time up there in the press box.
I know. So, yeah, you know what? I'll give him plenty of time to do that. Yeah, I maybe Colin Blackwell. I could see him.
Oh yeah.
Just making sure as a courtesy.
That's a good one. So those are our guests. Right there. You can let us know
the answers
down below. Tyler, what's the biggest need on the team? More consistent offense, more consistent defense, more consistent goaltending. I guess consistency.
Yeah, or just from like a roster asset standpoint, a scoring forward, a finisher.
Yep. Let's get Forsberg in free agency. Let's go.
Yep.
I want that. Let's see. Ty, all in all, fun night. Got to sit next to some ECH family and watch Trainwreck. There were lots of Kraken fans there. I've enjoyed my time in SJ, but I'm ready for some rain. See you soon, Seattle. All right, Ty's coming back. Let's go.
Yes.
And we're having to join us from
soon,
from the empty SAP Center.
Bring on the rain.
Yep. Trainwreck may be harsh. No. You said it. It's all right. Certainly saying McCann didn't play on the 24th, but I don't remember if he played against the Islanders on the 22nd.
Oh no, he did play against the Islanders.
He
finished that game, and it was the morning of the Thursday that he didn't play.
Yeah,
so that's when it came out. So it is that Thursday. Yeah. So next Thursday.
Yeah. Dylan, when are you going up to Seattle? Let's plan a meetup. I know I've been trying to plan stuff. It's been all over the place with my schedule, family schedule, traveling up there. I wish I had something for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, Dylan's got a lot going on right now, and also he did have a trip planned, but remember that giant snowstorm that blocked all entrances and exits to Seattle on the freeways? That's what it was planned for. So that one ended up not happening. So we're still kind of trying to reschedule that one.
Yeah, no, and then I have other stuff going on down here that's kind of keeping me from leaving at the moment, unfortunately. And also fortunately, some of it's good stuff. So Stratic, we talked about that. All right, so Tyler, real quick, and then we'll get to the answer everyone's waiting for. After seeing Martin St. Louis take over in Montreal, I think the Kraken need a player's coach like St. Louis. You can see the impact he's had on Caulfield. With Beniers, it's critical to have a good coach. I agree with that with Beniers. I would not mind having a player-friendly coach. We will certainly talk about this all tomorrow on the podcast as part of successful rebuilds and what that may entail. But yes, I mean, certainly when it comes to Caulfield, I think any coaching change is going to help that kid out.
Oh, for sure. Given what he had to deal with beforehand.
Yes, but I very much think you're on the right track there, Tyler. And then Stratic. Okay, so Jeremy Lauzon follows the most teammates at 15. Only 15.
Wow.
So does no one follow the entire team? That seems kind of crazy.
I guess not.
No one's.
I think all the wives and girlfriends all follow each other, but the players themselves.
I was gonna say, no one's wife or girlfriend has just taken over and done that for them, or agent even. Like you've got people. You're a professional athlete. McCann and Lauzon are tied with followers. They are followed by 11 teammates each, and all of McCann's followers are mutual. Okay, so maybe this is like me and Facebook, RJ. I never, ever on Facebook, back when we used that, would send a friend request. I would only ever accept friend requests. So my Facebook friend group was always very small because of that. So maybe that's what's going on here.
Interesting. Yeah, you don't want to send one without having received one, and just it's kind of deadlocked there.
Yeah, that's my guess, and then that would explain why Lauzon got up there. But that also means Lauzon followed 4 people, and they're not following him back. So that's also not great.
No, after one of these Dezo turnovers, just unfollow.
I was gonna say let's see if we can name him Adam Larson. No.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah. Daniel, what's your opinion on John Tortorella? Can he maybe be the next head coach for Seattle? He knows how to fire up a locker room, unlike Haxtell. I mean, he sure knows how to do that. He also knows how to burn some bridges pretty darn fast with players, and those tend to be really skilled players too. So that might be a little bit of a worry. I've spoken many times. I like John Tortorella a lot as a person. I've run into him a couple times at conferences and things. He's an extremely nice guy. I just don't know about him being a coach, certainly not for this team in their current state and stuff. I think that would be just adding more fuel to the fire.
Yeah, he can certainly work in some situations, but I think he's just a bad fit for what this team is right now and the organization in general.
Yeah. Ty, the snowstorm was legit. I still made it to watch the Seahawks lose, though. Yes, but you didn't have to drive through, all the mountain passes and everything in Northern California and whatnot. That was all been bad. Valentina, I'll keep the seat in my section warm for you, Dylan. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I do hope to take advantage of, seeing everybody and all of that. I really do. And then Jeremy, so you think Hackstall should be fired after the season, and Tip or Bilesma or Green come in as new head coach? Look at Vancouver after their coaching change. Yeah, and look at Montreal after their coaching change. I think that, all three of those names are names that they should look at.
Yeah, agreed. And certainly, again, if it continues as it has, I do think that's kind of the way they have to go. And yeah, it feels like a 5+ game win streak just comes. It's like in the part of the gift basket when you get a new coach. Yeah. Yeah, so I think those are some names they should look at.
I agree. We'll probably touch more on that maybe tomorrow in the podcast as well. Yeah. And then Ty, the simple fact with Hack is we can't figure out what he's doing. Having a couple former scouts and plenty of lifelong players watching, we should have some idea by now. The system sucks or the lack thereof. Yeah, I mean, we have talked about that. We've at times been able to pick out patterns, but they're few and far between.
Yeah, agreed. You should be seeing more things where people are pointing out, oh, look, this is what they're doing.
Right.
Smart minds can see these things, and you don't hear a lot of that from them and from us,
No, and as we talked about earlier, they've had 3 quote unquote unacceptable losing streaks. Like, they've had 3 losing streaks that get coaches fired. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like,
most other situations, yeah.
Yeah, and they've had 3 of them in one season. So I know, I still stand by a lot of what we said earlier in the year, that, cut him some slack given how fast the roster came together, how little time they had to get to know each other, all that stuff, new franchise, dealing with all the COVID stuff, all the injuries they had early on. Maybe your goaltending isn't all that great, right, this year, and also for those reasons. But it is one of those things that now, after a 55-game sample size, right, so much of what we were saying was, well, let's wait until the sample size gets bigger. 55-game sample size at this point, it is kind of hard to ignore.
Yeah, agreed.
And then go ahead and we'll make this a last one, I think, here from Daniel. I'm pretty sure when Hackstall gets fired, we will all be celebrating. I mean, it's a bittersweet thing. As someone who's worked in the industry, it's always hard when someone gets fired, just because, you can sympathize and all that stuff. Yeah. Someone is losing a job, but I do get it. And, I'm sure there will be plenty of people happy for it. That's for sure.
Yeah. And, and he's a nice guy in general, too. I mean, seeing him behind the scenes, like every day, he is just a really nice person. It certainly doesn't entitle you to a specific job as an NHL head coach and all that. But, he's someone that's certainly easy to root for. Yeah. But yeah.
Yep. All right. Real quick here. Ty, great stream tonight, Jen. Sorry to be a bit sour. I was really hoping to break my losing streak. Take Master Ty out. We got to get shirts done for that.
That's for you, Ty.
That's for you, Ty. And then, Hunter, what was the longest one? 9 games? No, we had a.
It was 9 games.
Oh, I felt like longer.
I stopped just short of 10. Yeah.
And then they'll probably hire Dave Tippett if Dave Tippett wants it. I think that might be the bigger thing. There is whether or not he'd want it. That being said, I've already said I'd love if that was the hire.
Yeah, that would be a great hire.
I think he'd fix a lot of these problems that they've been having. But thanks so much for joining us after this one, everybody. Thanks for sticking around through it all. Had a good time tonight. As we always manage to find a way, right? We're laughing, we're having a good time. Everybody seems to be having a good time in chat, no matter what. And I just absolutely love that about this group, RJ.
Yeah, for sure. You guys are awesome. I mean, it's a great community, and that, in the midst of a 7-game losing streak, we're still having fun. We're still chatting. We're enjoying everything, and I mean, you all make that possible.
Yep. All right. So, keep your eyes out for the deep dive podcast tomorrow, everybody. It will be a little bit later in the day because we didn't have time to pre-record it earlier today. But that will be out tomorrow. We'll be talking all about, the build, not the rebuild. It's the build.
Mm-hmm. That's a better way to put it.
Yeah. That's what it is. And it should be a really good one. And then, we'll see y'all later in the week as, we do this all again.
Yes, hopefully with some
maybe
wins.
not all of it, but we'll certainly be back after the next game with all of you, and it's gonna be good. So thanks everybody. We'll see you next time.